Good evening, this is Goldy, also known as Mr. Anecdotal, Mr. Pasty, and the Talking Head. Also, I'm a flip-flopper in the way that I want my doctor, my lawyer, my therapist, my politician, my friends, and my family to be. When you have new information, you change your theories. It's Wednesday, August 5th, 2015. Remember, most importantly, I rant so you don't have to. If you want an inaccurate transcript of the show, send me an email to goldyrant@gmail.com. All right. It's been a while. I'm going to talk about Sandra Bland, the woman who was killed, who committed suicide in jail in Waller County, and the problem of police stops in the U.S., and my particular run-in with the Policia of Costa Rica and the danger that it poses to tourists and citizens of that country. Sorry, I'm having some technical problems as usual, and you know how much I like those. Took me a while. Hang on a second here. Sorry. Took me a while to figure out what the main point of this rant would be. I look at the title that will go on to YouTube and Ustream, and I see if I've done anything before on the subject. This started out as Police, Policia, and Sandra Bland death. Police stops and consent number 1. But I realize that it is related to privacy, surveillance, and the slippery slope, and I've already done 12 of those. I've got a link to the Sandra Bland video. So as I do this rant, keep remembering a key point from my prior privacy and surveillance rants. Even though this doesn't appear to be privacy and surveillance. The key point is we must assert our right to certain zones of privacy, whether it be from the cameras at a red light looking into our backyard, or the same camera looking into our bathroom, or a drone camera looking into the bathroom. The reason why a police officer cannot just go searching you is because of the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. Let me read it to you. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The reason why the government cannot just read your emails, listen to your phone calls, enter your home, or search you on the street is because of the Fourth Amendment. Over the years, the Supreme Court has added exclusions and exceptions to this amendment. One such exception is your vehicle. If a cop smells or sees drugs, or if you consent to a search of your vehicle. The purpose of the Fourth Amendment was to keep the king's soldiers, in our case, police, from just searching you when they wanted. It was an idea of being secure in certain zones without probable cause. It was a creation of a zone where the police had to overcome some obstacles before they could search you. It was an attempt to have a nation of individuals where you were innocent until you were proven guilty, not the other way around. Hence the requirement of probable cause and a warrant upon oath or affirmation. The main purpose of traffic laws is to keep everyone safer on the road. Police are there to enforce these laws. Once they pull you over for failing to signal a lane change, they have gotten a foot in the door. They smell your breath when you answer the questions. They look on the front seat for guns or drugs. They smell the car for marijuana. If any of these things are present, they have probable cause to search. Now this is very simplistic, and it's only a couple of things that I'm mentioning, but we should keep it that way for now. They can also ask you to consent to a search, and you might consent, in which case, per the Supreme Court and a bunch of cases, and state court cases, you have waived your right to claim it was an illegal search, and whatever they find is admissible in court, including any items that they might rarely but possibly plant in the area where they are searching. We've heard many commentators. We've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook. We've seen the commentators on Fox and several of my friends in Costa Rica. They say that you should just cooperate with the police. One of my friends down there has been beaten up by the police, and he always consents to everything to keep from being tased or killed. So we have a Fourth Amendment that says that a cop needs a warrant to search you, but people advise that you consent to everything. A letter to the editor in the Statesman, July 28, 2015, says just that. Does this smell as bad to you as it does to me? We are being told by the Supreme Court and state Supreme Courts to not consent to anything in order to preserve our rights, and on the other hand, we're being told to cooperate. It is a terrible choice, made possible by a bunch of people on the Supreme Court who have obviously never had to make the choice that Sandra Bland had to make. Keep all this in mind as I go through Sandra Bland's situation as a great example of why we need to change that particular system of consent. It appears generally that most people do not know the law. Even attorneys, me, do not know the exact definition of being detained or under arrest. Also, listen to the video as the cop massages his story. You get to hear him talking on the phone late. If we're trying to catch terrorists and criminals, we need to look back on my prior rants to where I showed that it would be impossible to prevent all crimes, all terror acts, all bombings, all theater shootings, even with complete unconstitutional search powers of everything. Think about it. A guy may have a gun. He may not communicate with anyone. He may not put anything on Facebook. He might not talk on the phone. There may not be a possible way of knowing it. That guy's going to go in and shoot 5 people in a theater. I've questioned how much privacy should we be willing to give up to prevent all terrorist bombings. I came to the conclusion that since we cannot stop them all, the intrusions would be way too dramatic to enact, and we would lose too much to not be more secure. One of my suggestions was a T-1000. That's what we call that machine at the airport, the machine that sees under your clothes, at your front door. Ridiculous. You would walk out, you'd walk past that, and they would see what you've got underneath. You've got a gun, you've got whatever. Or reading all of your emails, or listening to all of your calls. Those are all ridiculous. Or a drone for each backyard and house, a la 1984. Ridiculous, but possible. Now, having said all that, let us look at the Sandra Bland video. Now, I'm not going to play the video right now, but you should, the 54-minute one. So I'm going to give you some time frames that are important. She did fail to signal a lane change. You can see this, which gives the police officer a reason to pull her over. And I'm not going to go into pretext searches, which 2 attorney friends told me about, that are somewhat legal under reasonable circumstances. A pretext search is where a cop follows you all over town until you make a tiny mistake and then pulls you over. I'm also not going to go into my racism mode because I do not believe that it played a significant role in this particular altercation. It might have, but for the sake of the particular discussion that we're having right now, let's just assume it didn't. Let's just assume that he was allowed to pull her over for the sake of this rant. At 2:49, and you've got to watch this video. At 2:49, 2 minutes and 49 seconds, he asks her, "What's wrong? And how long have you been in Texas? And where are you headed to now?" At 8:44, he asks her, "You okay?" She replies, "I'm waiting on you." He says, "You seem very irritated." She explains why she's irritated, which was she changed lanes because the cop was tailgating her. He says, "Are you done?" All right? Are you done? He had asked her why she was irritated, and then he goes, "Are you done? Do you mind putting out your cigarette, please, if you don't mind?" Those are his exact words. She replies, "I'm in my car. Why do I have to put out the cigarette?" He gets upset, and he says, "I'm giving you a lawful order." She says, "I am not under arrest." He says, "You are under arrest." She asks, "For what?" He loses it at this point, drags her out of the car. He's yelling at her, "Get out of the car, get out of the car." And she's like, "Why? Why? Why? You're not allowed to pull me out of the car. I'm allowed to smoke cigarettes in my car. Why?" Now, when you see this, and you listen to what went on, there is no doubt that he caused the altercation. None. He escalated the situation. He caused it. He asked her, would you please put out your cigarette? And see, she said no. He didn't say, you have to put out the cigarette. By law, you're blowing it in my face. It's an assault. When you see this thing, if it doesn't sicken you, you do not understand the issue. If it doesn't sicken you, you don't understand the issue. Or you've never been in that kind of situation. Now here's the worst part. He drags her down, it's off camera, whatever, you can't see, you can hear what's going on. Finally gets the cuffs on her, puts her in the car, a backup comes in the tow truck. At 19:30, both officers are now searching the car. They don't find anything, by the way, but if they had, what would be the outcome? I actually don't have an answer for that. Okay? Listening further at 19:30 to the revisionist history being fabricated by the cop talking to a supervisor or whoever, quotes, she was flailing around. I tried to calm her down, and that is when I detained her. No, you detained her when you asked her to step out of the car. Quotes, I explained why I was doing what I was doing. Close quotes. Certainly he's changing his story. You hear him defining assault, like he's reading it out of a book. Sure looks like he committed assault when he reached into the car. Illegally. Definitions at 27 minutes, trying to find a reason why he could have arrested her. He incorrectly says the arrest started when the traffic stop happened. They massage what happened while the other officer is on the phone. At 30 minutes, quotes, she is irritated. She wouldn't look at me. She looks straight ahead. She's mad. I am on the driver's side. I want to get out of the road. That's what he stated he said to her. He never said that to her. You can listen to the video. At 34:00, the cop is on the phone. He's still on the phone with a supervisor, attorney, union rep over a simple traffic stop. Massaging the story. Thank God there's a video. Now it is disgusting. You should have tears in your eyes when you see it. And I kid you not, if you don't, come see me. Here's a major point as to why the Supreme Court gets it wrong. When a person with a gun, a taser, a nightstick, and handcuffs tells you to do something or asks you to do something, you most likely will do it. And when you do it, you have relinquished certain constitutional rights. So how do you preserve your rights while complying with a lawful order? Okay, he's using the word lawful even though it wasn't, as the cop asserts. He said he de-escalated at 33:00, at 33 minutes. He said he de-escalated. He de-escalated when he had her in cuffs and put her in the car. He clearly did not know the law. He proves it later on because he had no idea when the detaining started, when the arrest started. When did he read her rights? Did he? And actually, she knew more law than he did. He did not give a lawful order. He asked her to put out her cigarette, and when she did not comply, he lost it. He asked her to put out the cigarette. He didn't tell her to put out the cigarette. She said no. She even states that he has no right to ask her to put out her cigarette. She's in her car. He replies with, I'm going to light you up, meaning with a taser. And then he starts yelling, get out of the car, get out of the car, get out of the car. Well, it appears that the system in place now is skewed, screwed up and in need of revision. Maybe we need something more like informed consent in medicine. Consent in this case would have been her exiting the vehicle when she did not put out the cigarette. Informed consent? Certainly not. Informed consent is when you have the full knowledge of the decision you are making and the information to weigh the pros and cons, the ramifications and relinquishment of rights that will follow from such consent, and no duress. I assert that it is impossible for you to consent under the circumstances when a cop is asking you to do something with a gun, taser, nightstick, and handcuffs in plain view. I'm not the only one who sees that there's a problem with these stops. In the Texas Bar Journal, June 2015, which I read today, the newly elected president of the Texas Young Lawyers Association, C. Barrett Thomas, who, by the way, was a cop and a prosecutor, is preparing the following item: People's Police Guide, a small handout that will educate the public on proper police procedure, the history and reasoning for certain police tactics, policies that are consistent with both community-oriented and problem-solving police models, and what citizens can do to assist local law enforcement in their efforts to be fair, efficient, and professional. Sounds like a great start. And he actually talked about, in my racism rant, I was talking about institutional racism and racism of the individuals. And he said that's actually not relevant. If there is a perception of the racism, then it is a problem and it has to be dealt with. Now, his great start of this little pamphlet, which I don't assume cops will be giving to you, but will be available to the public, I have a much stronger, more radical suggestion. When a police officer pulls you over for a traffic violation, including a tail light out or expired inspection sticker, he hands you a sheet of paper that tells you your rights in English and Spanish. And if you cannot read, he reads it to you. It says you're being detained for blank. So it would be, he'd fill in the blank, failing to signal a lane change. The cop tells you the infraction to fill in the blank. He does not ask you, do you know why I pulled you over today? Continuing, this police officer is allowed to ask you for your license and in Texas for your proof of insurance. This police officer is not allowed to ask you, are you okay? May I search your vehicle? Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? You do not have to answer any of these questions. It will say it on the sheet. You do not have to exit the vehicle. You do not have to consent to any search. You do not have to consent to putting out your cigarette. The police officer cannot make inflammatory statements like, you seem irritated. As soon as the police officer finishes writing the ticket, unless he places you under arrest or states that he has probable cause to search your vehicle, you may leave. And he should affirmatively tell you, I've written your ticket, you can go. You can go, you can go, you can go, you can go. Affirmatively. It seems ridiculous, but I think it is the only way to preserve the zone of privacy inside the vehicle and prevent deaths, so long as you are not under arrest. If you're under arrest, they can obviously do it. If they have the probable cause, they smell the weed, they see the drugs, they see the guns, you punch him, they're drunk, they smell the alcohol, all those things that add up to probable cause. I suggest state and federal law being changed so that any consent that you give does not invalidate the illegality of a search. Since clearly not only do the people being pulled over have no idea as to the law on this very complicated subject, but it's clear that many police officers do not know the law as well. So why not err on the side of innocent until proven guilty? And preventing deaths. And preventing escalations. I suggest that we worry about the slippery slope, which leads to no place where you have privacy in every single one of these instances. So that when the police suggest you putting a camera on the corner, when the police department suggests putting a camera on the corner of 12th and Chicon, we say no. When the police want to run continuous drone flights over the backyards, we say no. When the NSA wants to listen into every conversation fishing, we say no. When a police officer asks to search your vehicle, we say no. Or we say yes if we are protected from an illegal search by the law change that I'm requesting. I'm okay with this approach, as it will actually de-escalate a situation. I'm trying to solve the problem. Now, this is contrary to the idiot cop who lied about de-escalating with Sandra Bland. Watch the video. It is disgusting. Disgusting. You should be embarrassed to live in this country and have that happen to someone. Black, white, doesn't matter. Brown. Disgusted, angry. Now let's turn to Costa Rica and their totally corrupt system of policing. Just so you know, down there when I go down to Samara, there is no 911 you can call. There is a police station. If somebody's caught breaking into your house and they have your wallet, your passport, your phone, You can identify it. They don't go to jail. Catch somebody breaking into your house, call the police, holding the guy. He does not go to jail. Leads to some very, very bad outcomes. A lot of self-help happens. That person whose place is being broken into will beat the crap out of the guy. Then the guy sues them. All because the police are corrupt and can't come out on a 911 call. So, I have a letter here to the Four Seasons, which will give you a rundown of exactly what happened to Chris and myself on June 27th. Regarding illegal and dangerous police stop June 27, 2015 after 27 holes at the Four Seasons. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel compelled to write this letter to you informing you of a very dangerous situation that occurred and is obviously still occurring near your luxury hotel. Potentially you may need to warn your guests who venture off of the hotel grounds of this danger. On June 27, 2015, my friend Chris, owner of the Hotel Tico Adventure Lodge in Samara, and I went to the Four Seasons to play a round of golf. We brought a change of clothes. We were in a new rental car. We played golf, 27 holes actually. It was a very good time and a part of Chris's birthday celebration. We finished the golf, went to the locker room for showers, showered, put on clean clothes, and left the Four Seasons. After driving for about 20 minutes from the Papagayo Peninsula, we were confronted with a police stop. Now, they are allowed to check for passports. Apparently. We pulled over, both of us wearing seatbelts, clean clothes, and holding our passports in the air. They asked us to get out of the car. We did. The main larger cop started saying, "I smell marijuana," in English, by the way, and they commenced searching the car. They stated to me in English, "You're in trouble. Which bag is yours?" I gave him my sweaty golf clothes. He stated that he smelled marijuana on my phone and in my plastic money bag where my money was coming out. Chris smoked cigarettes. He stated that he was going to go get his supervisor. This is the cop. The drug dog, and that I was going to jail for 4 years unless I admitted to whatever I had. They kept searching. He asked his buddy, the slightly thinner cop, for his handcuffs. I stated, "Where's my passport? Where's Chris's passport?" That's all I cared about. Getting out of here with my passport. They replied, "Right here." I asked, "Can Chris follow us to the station?" And they asked for his driver's license. They then asked for my driver's license. After some minutes, they conferred with each other. At that point, before putting the cuffs on me, they said we could go. We drove to Nicoya and stopped at the liquor store on the main road, and I noticed that a 20,000 Coloni note, $40, was gone from my money bag. It had been stolen by the police during the illegal detention. I told a few people in Samara, and they told me that the police just needed some money. You should pay them and you could go on your way. Well, that does not happen in the United States, and I can assure you that if your guests knew the risks of extortion, incarceration, and injury from the police, they would think twice about staying at your very expensive luxury hotel. I believe you have a duty to warn all of the guests that there is a risk of the police stopping them and demanding or stealing money from them. It will avoid possible violence and potential injury or death to one of your guests if they do not cooperate. I'm a regular visitor to Costa Rica from the United States. I stay for 2 months every 4 months. I just wanted you to be aware of this incident prior to me going to TripAdvisor and the Four Seasons headquarters. I will be sending a letter to the editor of the Voice of Guanacaste and the Tico Times as well. Thanks. So that's what happened. I was so angry. You cannot imagine. When I got back, I started telling people, Policia, MFing crooks, thieves, corrupt. So when I told a couple of people about it, locals from Samara, they all stated that the cops were underpaid and wanted money. If we'd paid them earlier, we would have been able to go earlier. Now, I call their attitude complacency. It is very, very dangerous. Complacency. In my racism rant, I stated that in the event that there is discretion in any portion of the criminal justice system, from the cops up to the judge, jury, and the individual with the discretion in that system has any bit of racism in them, it will lead to them stopping the car with the blacks or browns in it versus the car with whites in it. If there is. People will be treated differently. I talked about capital punishment. If you're a black who kills a white, you're 10 times more likely to get the death penalty than a white who kills a black in the United States, due to the discretion of the prosecutors. In Costa Rica, the racial profiling that occurs is partially an economic profiling and partially a racial profiling. Chris and I had been pulled over and searched 2 times before that in the crappy old truck when we did not have clean clothes on. He smokes cigarettes, so they will always say, "I smell marijuana." Always. They see 2 old guys with short hair and clean clothes in a rental car, and they know they can steal some money. 4 Seasons is very, very expensive. Separately, if you have long hair, they will assume you have weed and take your money, even if they do not find any weed. This is from the Rastas in town. If they find the weed, they will take that as well. We've not heard of anybody going to jail for that. This is a very, very dangerous situation. And in fact, some of my friends said, "Oh, this is better than Guatemala, Honduras," where, of course, the CIA is operating with impunity. Confessions of an economic hitman. Wherever we have troops, there are dead people. Now think about, I was scared. I've been in situations before when they start doing something illegal and then you're in a gray area. He reached for the handcuffs. And only when he stole the 20,000 cologne note did he let us go. Now, we didn't know that at that time. I tried to explain to my friends to whom I had related the story that the distance between the U.S. system of policing and one in which the cops steal your money is a pretty big distance. So I do this thing so you can see it. All right, here we go. Sorry. Here's the distance. U.S., not assuming they're going to take any money. Costa Rica, they're always going to take money. And I said, that's a pretty big distance. Now, the distance between stealing your money and killing you is tiny. They're already willing to do something illegal. So if you don't cooperate or you piss them off, what do you think will happen? They'll cuff you. They'll beat the crap out of you. They'll dump you in the crocodile river. That's what will happen. Once they're doing one thing illegally, it is a tiny, tiny step to a rape, further theft, beating, or killing. Be very afraid. Friends in Costa Rica, people that are going to Costa Rica, you need to be scared. The complacency of the people, or the excuses that are put forth by my friends, are terrible. Cops are the lowest paid. They just want your money. You people, shut up. Shut up that it is okay. Shut up. It's not okay. This will lead to the downfall of your country. You need to speak up. Write to the mayor. Obviously, you don't put yourself in danger. It's the same thing. De-escalation. You need to write to the mayor, write to the big hotels, write to the rental car companies, put it on TripAdvisor. But don't tell me it's okay. They just want money. Remember, small numbers of people doing very targeted things can change the world. We killed the cameras at 12th and Chicon by calling a few council members and doing a few 3-minute citizen communications, and then talking to Ocean and saying all these innocent children's pictures will be up there. Takes some intelligence, but it can be done. Have some hope. Turns out the U.S. system of policing is a bit safer than the Costa Rican system. But don't tell me it's okay. It's the same as people here that go, I don't vote, it doesn't matter. BS. It does. We're working to overturn and make it a little stronger that that vote matters more. Complacency. Bad. Complacency is to cops. I'm guilty. So we get this one. I've got to add this one because I don't ever want to hear it out of someone's mouth. I have nothing to hide, so you can search me. Shut up. Shut up. I will slap you upside the head if you say that. I don't care if you're a parent, grandparent, uncle, aunt, old person, woman, man. I will slap you upside the head if you say that. It is irrelevant as to whether or not you're innocent. They do not have a right to search you. And this whole idea of the cops trying to inflame you. Are you okay? Why are you irritated? Why am I irritated? He shouldn't even be able to ask those questions. We need to fix that. Anyway, that's all there is for today. Thanks for coming out. I have a couple of articles in this thing that I'll put up when the email goes out. Talks about cell phone search needs warrant, drones, etc. I'm going to keep up on this story and see if anything changes. When I get that pamphlet from the State Bar of Texas, I'll put that up as well. I want it to go a lot farther. It really needs to be a mix of the ACLU card that they handed out on to what your rights are when you're at your home, on the street, or in your car. It shouldn't be the ACLU's duty to do that. It should be the system's duty to tell you what your rights are. Because the cops don't even know. Thanks for coming out.